you are and who is Bram Stoker.
My name is Dacre Stoker. I'm the great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker, the author of Dracula. I'm also an international best-selling author myself, and I'm here doing a presentation at the Fountain Bookstore in beautiful Richmond.
So I was kind of observing this presentation. This isn't really, let's say, there's a lot of experts in the room here. So this is about Dracula, but it's not just about Dracula. There's this kind of the unwritten parts of Dracula that you're discovering, that you're unearthing here.
Right. So what I'm doing here tonight is we had a wonderful gathering brought on by StrangerVA.com. Good friend of mine, Jeffrey Holmes, is local, and he's brought together some real vampire aficionados. And what we're doing is actually dissecting my great-granduncle's novel, Dracula. We're dissecting it by looking at the notes that he used. We're looking at some of the sources he used, which helps me share with the group, but also help them find for themselves the inspirations, the motivations, and some of the key parts that were actually edited out of the novel, bringing that back to life. We're 128 years into this novel, and we're still finding things out. And by dissecting the novel with a wonderful group, some of them authors, most of them very interested readers, we have a great experience together.
I love that. So you're a bit of like a historian as well. I mean, you have this relationship through your lineage, but you're quite the expert on your great granduncle. I don't know, walk me through creating this presentation and just the process of discovering things that didn't make this iconic novel, this piece of literature.
So my background, I'm a school teacher, physical education and science, and I like to be able to present to folks. And the way to do that is to bring things by pulling the curtain back from Uncle Bram's process. So I've spent 15 years looking through his notes that live in the Rosenbach Museum in Philadelphia, the Dracula typescript owned by the Paul Allen estate, different archives, Trinity College, some relatives, some rich people have their own private archives, and I've put them all together almost like a massive treasure hunt, because they don't really make sense unless you pull them all together. Some of these things that have been discovered are discovered by other researchers. I'm just the guy that is lucky enough to be able to put them all together. And that's what it is. I call myself a literary forensic detective. And that helps me find things to use with co-authors when I write my own books, which I've actually written a prequel to Dracula with J.D. Barker and a sequel to Dracula with Ian Holt and a couple other non-fictions as well.
Maybe you could talk to me too about what you noticed. I mean, it's October, but apart from that, just what you noticed among like people who are horror fanatics and how Dracula is just this like everybody can recognize Dracula, the symbol of it, and also just this image that was born through writing.
Sure. Well, I mean, we're in spooky season, right? It's October. This is the Super Bowl month for a Stoker, for a Poe fan, Lovecraft fan. This is the time of year when everybody who has anything to do with vampires, horrors, ghouls, witches, we're highlighted now. And of course, Richmond has your own history of your own vampire. You've got Edgar Allan Poe, and Bram Stoker actually came and visited here when he was on a tour. So this is the time of year where we all, and I'd say shine, but we hide in the shadows. When we come out, and this is the time people get to read our stories, watch the movies that are created from them. And it's just a great time of the year for us.
I love that. I think maybe one of the last things I'll ask you is just a lot of these things, especially older pieces of literature, get lost over time. You're finding these, the lore, these pages, these notes, some numbers in there, some like illegible handwriting that you've, transcribed. But I guess what this means for you with your relationship and just the love of this book, carrying that torch in a way, the legacy of Dracula.
Well, it's an honor to be a relative of Bram Stoker, as I said earlier, 128 years. And it does happen around Halloween that people begin to think about it. Honestly, I think about it year round, because I take my responsibility quite seriously that I think Bram Stoker needs to be as well known in the world as his creation, Dracula. I don't think I'm going to get there, but it's awful fun. Traveling around, spreading the word, finding new little bits and pieces here and there. I'm about to head off to Romania to lead a tour to Italy to talk about Stoker and its connection to the Italian literature, England. So it really is a worldwide phenomenon that he started in 1897. I've got a long way to go to educate people on really what he was all about. He was a very interesting man himself, as were many of the authors of the classics. But as now we get to look back at those and we pull back the curtain, kind of like the Wizard of Oz, and see really what's back there. Who were these people that really have been fascinating us and horrifying us for over a century?
Absolutely, and something as iconic as like a vampire study, the traits. I mean, you handed me, I think it was like the qualities, the traits of a vampire.
Sure. I mean, he found traits of vampires from real myth. As I always say, all myth begins with some degree of truth. Bram Stoker capitalized on that. He found treatises in different archives, different museums, that then he collected in a way, and I say packaged his vampire by taking the myth that existed in the medieval ages. Also in America, in 1896, we had our own vampire scare in New England. But he took all those together and packaged them in a supernatural creature that then became transformed onto stage and onto screen and onto cereal boxes and everything else in between. And that's what we have today. And we can thank Bram Stoker for it.
This iconic image. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, it's just wonderful that Richmond is becoming another hub as more people like Jeffrey Holmes are beginning to look at some of your really cool history, some of the stories. New Orleans, Savannah, Georgia, a lot of these places are digging into their history and finding really cool stories that entertain everybody. And this is the time of year to do it.